Okay, so welcome to everybody that's joined us tonight. You might already know us, you might not know us, but I'm Heather. I'm not Heather, that's Heather. There you go, good start. And I'm Neil, and that's Heather. I'm just going to go through what we're going to do this evening and how it's going to follow. And then we're doing this 3 days for you and tell you what we're going to cover during those 3 days. So tonight we're going to talk about what the biggest mistakes people make investing in property. So we're going to cover that, and really that's the benefit of that to you is you can learn from other people's mistakes, which helps you avoid making those mistakes and will save you a lot of money. Tomorrow we're going to put the best strategy for you. So what's the best investment strategy for you? We're going to go through a few strategies and make you sure so you know what the best one is for you. When you're starting your property portfolio in a controlled manner, your portfolio will start to create monthly income for you then. And then on Wednesday, we're going to talk to you about how you can buy property without much money. So a lot of people say to us all the time, it's all great investing in property, but I don't have a lot of capital to start with. Well, if you don't have a lot of money, then maybe maybe you have an adverse credit. Perhaps you've got a bad, not a great credit file. Then we're going to teach you how to start building property in creative financing strategies. So that's really what we're going to cover over the next 3 days. But before we do that, perhaps we can introduce ourselves to you, tell you a little bit about our background so that you guys can understand who we are. Heather, do you want to start?
Yeah, no problem. Well, welcome everyone to day1 training. Neil and I, we've been business partners or been good friends for best part of 10 years. We decided this year we would develop another education platform for you. So my history was single mum with 2 small boys at the time. They are grown adults now. And I had just lost my brother at 36, and I realised it could happen to me any day. And I wanted to build a better financial freedom for them and myself, but still be that mum figure. So that was really important to me. So I had a massive big why. I wanted them to have the lifestyle that I felt they deserved, whether I was a single parent or not. So I get into property. The reason I get into property was I was one of these people that Neil's speaking about. I made mistakes. And through that mistake, I got myself educated with professionals and I managed to build my portfolio up. And that's what we are hoping, Neil and I, working as a team, can give back to you. We're the ones that's made the mistakes. We have worn the t-shirts and we want to educate you on how not to make these mistakes. So it's over to my good partnership, Neil Stewart.
Okay, thank you, Heather. All right, so a little bit about me very briefly. I was in the army. I was in the forces. I joined the army straight from school. I was in the Royal Corps Signals Communications. Very, very fortunate that I didn't get involved in any conflict. As a young boy, I just wanted to go and see the world. I was very fortunate. I got posted to Cyprus, and both of my children were born in Cyprus, so I was very lucky there. But I got a little bit bored with the army, and I was getting into computers back then. So shows a little bit my age, maybe, that computers were just coming into the army, and I wanted to learn more about them. So I got out, learned more about them, set up my own IT business and the computing services business and consultancy, which I did some work for the police and did some work for primary schools and also for small businesses. But I got probably 14 years I was doing that, and I found it very, very difficult being self-employed. I don't know if anybody else who's going to be watching this video back later on was also self-employed. But when you're self-employed and you're not working, you're not earning. And that's a big, big problem. So I thought the best thing for me was to try and get involved in property. Those of you who've seen the program, Homes Under the Hammer, everybody was buying properties all over the place and all sorts going on. So I went out and bought a property and made a really, really bad mistake with that property, which we'll probably talk about a little bit later on. And then realized that was the wrong thing to do. Well, I'll tell you now, we bought a property that was off plan, a new flat. Didn't know anything about those kind of things, didn't understand it. By the time I bought it and rented it out, I was losing £50 a month, losing £600 a year, and the value wasn't what we expected it to be when we bought it. We as me and my father, and so it's kind of, we made some big mistakes and we learned. That's when I decided to get some education. Since getting the education, I got to the point where I wanted to be financial free and I didn't have to work in the IT business anymore after 2 years of investing. And since then, we've been teaching. Heather and I have been teaching, coaching and mentoring other people as well for the last 6 or 7 years now. We've both got about 30 years worth of experience behind us combined in investment properties. And as I say, we've been teaching and mentoring and coaching people for 7 or 8 years now. Is that right, Heather? I've been about 7 years. Is that about the same for you?
Yeah, but a little bit longer.
Okay.
I'm not giving away my age.
You're not giving away your age. Okay, all right. So what we're going to do is we will give you some sort of case studies as well, tell you a little bit about people that we've coached and how they've done, how well they've done, and also talk about some of the mistakes you can make if that's useful. I think, well, what is it at the beginning? One of the ladies that we mentored recently, Eve, she was a single mum, 3 boys, and she's a contractor. So she wasn't really guaranteed work either. And she wasn't sure whether she wanted to come on board with the coaching and the mentoring to start with, because she had a certain amount of money and that's all she had. And she had a good chat with us, and eventually she came on board, and we went, we did the full year mentorship program that we're offering with her. And what we did was we went to the area that she was investing. We did a mentorship with her. And during that time, we found some properties that she could buy. We put offers in, and they got accepted. And she got on with it. And Eve was, every turn, Eve was a little bit worried, a bit frightened, a bit scared of what to do. And she had us on the end of the phone. She was calling us every day almost, and texting me nearly 3 or 4 times a day, just about various things, which is fine. We got her through it. She bought the property, and by the time she'd done the property, she rented it out, renovated it and everything else. There is a video about her as well we've put up online. She managed to get £100 more rental than everyone else was selling she could get. So all the agents were saying she could get about £400. She managed to get £500 a month on this property, and she created £40,000 equity in that property. So at the end of it, it was worth 100,000, and she'd spent something like 69, 70,000 buying it, doing it up and everything else. So she had a good 30 to 40,000 pounds equity in the property, which we then have been working with her to get that equity back out and then to go and do the next property. So Eve was over the moon, and if you watch the video that's on my YouTube channel, she's smiling from ear to ear all the way through as we're talking about it, because she's so happy about what she's done. So that's Eve. But what we're going to talk about tonight is we're going to talk about the mistakes. What's one of the biggest mistakes people make when they get into property and get into investment property? Well, the biggest thing we found is not knowing the facts about buying the property. So, for example, if you go to an area or you go somewhere that you want to invest, you need to know a lot about that area, and you need to find out a lot about what's going on in that area. So things like, if I went to Glasgow, where Heather is, I'd need to find out about the area. I'd need to find out about the types of tenant that I might find there. I'd need to find out the demand for the rental area, and I'd need to know what costs would be involved in buying, renting. So we just mentioned Eve. And Eve spent buying, doing up and renovating the whole property and renting it out nearly £70,000. So realistically, Eve needed to know that was going to happen. That if she spent all that money on that property, she needed to be sure that she was going to get the money. Now, a lot of people don't do that. We need to know what the property is going to be worth at the end, and how to do that, and how to find out all that information. All of these things and more are the things that will make a big difference. And again, when I was doing my first property, I thought I'd found an amazing property in Swindon, which is not far from where I live. And I was really, really excited about it. I was going to do this HMO, which is a house of multiple occupancy, so room rentals. And I thought I was going to make about, I think it worked out I was going to make about £1,200 a month cash flow off this property. And I was going to be not much of my own money left in there. Now, if I had bought that property and I hadn't listened to my coach and my mentor who I ran it by, I would have lost £20,000 on that property, because I didn't do the research. I didn't check on those kind of things. I didn't check all the information that I had behind to know about. I mean, Heather, have you found the same? Have you found people maybe not doing the research properly?
Yeah, if people don't do the research, they've got no comeback in anyone else. So one of the mistakes that I made was, had no knowledge of it, was in a bit of an emotional state in my life, just wanted to buy a property, and I bought a small 1-bedroom flat, and it was on the market, and I'll share this story, it was on the market for 26,200, And I took advice from someone saying, what do you think I should offer? And their answer to me was, oh, usually £10,000 more than the asking price.
Oh.
So what did Heather do? She phoned the lawyers and I put an offer in of 36,200. Just to take another person's advice to say, whoa, you need to put that deposit down yourself. So then I phoned the lawyers just before it went to closing day and changed my figures round by saying, I've made a mistake in my figures, and your figures are very crucial, the most important part of this game. And I changed my figures round to 32,600. Okay, but that could have cost me a lot of money at that point. Also, I took it upon myself to think, yeah, I've got a lot of projects, I'm really enjoying it, but I never took into consideration the length of time it was going to get me from A to B. So rather than doing it over what I've learned now with the experts, it's like 28, 30 days, once a month. It took me 6 months just to get a little 1-bedroom flat painted and decorated and carpeted to go up for rent. So I lost a lot. I lost 6 months rental on that as well. So that's just a little tip of the iceberg of the mistakes I made at the very beginning. When I went and spoke to the professionals, I learned the key things, what to look for. So again, as Neil says, find out what your area needs, find out what your rent is. I had no idea. I just went and thought, I'll go with this and see where it goes. So do your homework. Excuse me.
Well, something I forgot to mention at the beginning, Heather, is that we've got, we're going to give away some prizes each day as well, aren't we? So what we're going to do is the people that get involved, interact on the Facebook page, comment on other books pages, and also we're going to give you a little bit of a task at the end of this video session for you to do. We're going to offer a little prize, and we'll give the prize. We'll let you know the prize tomorrow for the people that interact tonight, or we'll tell you the person who's won the prize. And that is, we're going to give you some Amazon vouchers so that you can go and spend on a book or an audio or whatever it is that you want to do. So the plan is that we're going to give you something tomorrow, and we're going to give you something on Wednesday as well, and then we've got something even better for you after that, which we'll tell you all about later on, or towards the end of the 3 days. But yeah, coming back to the due diligence, as we call it, that's the best thing you must do to find out about your area. And there are 3 things that we do when we're doing due diligence, and that's, we're looking at the area, we're looking at the strategy we're going to use, and we're also going to be looking at the property itself. Now, a lot of people get this mixed up, this way to do it. Now, those 3 things, the area, strategy, and property, are very important. A lot of people start looking at the property first and start thinking, oh, what kind of properties am I going to buy? What shall I get? You know, what kind of things will work for me? Well, actually, that's the wrong way to do it. The best way to do it first is to research the area, and we'll give you a few pointers tonight about those researching those areas, what things you should be looking at, what things you should be looking for to make sure you're buying in the right area. Because at the end of the day, if you buy a house in an area, or a flat or whatever in an area that nobody wants to live in and nobody wants to rent, then you're going to be stuck with that property, and it's going to cost you money holding on to that property. So the main thing, and the first thing you've got to look at, and we're going to talk about strategy tomorrow, I think I said tomorrow, or yes, tomorrow. Yes. We're going to look at strategy. That's the main thing we need to do, is look at the area. And when you know what your area is like, then you can decide whether or not that's a good place to go. And choosing areas is one of the biggest things that everyone has problems with. So what Heather and I teach people is practice in your own area first. So try your own area out first, because that's easy, that's local. We've got problems with people around the country, different people in lockdown situations. There's 5 tiers of lockdown in Scotland. Wales is on lockdown. You know, different parts of the UK is on lockdown. So at the moment, getting out and doing anything other than in your own area is quite a challenge anyway. So do the practice in your own area. And the kind of things you need to look for are, you need to know what type of tenants you're going to get in the area. So if I'm going to buy a property in an area, say I go to Glasgow, where Heather is, and I say to Heather, I turn up to Heather and I say, I'm going to buy this house. I'm going to rent it out to you, Heather, because you're a lovely lady, you're a hardworking lady, you're what I might call a professional person, and I bought this property in this part of town. Well, I don't know if Heather really wants to live in that part of town, if Heather's interested in that, because Heather might turn around and say, you don't go there. I'm not going to live there. So I've got to know what type of tenants I'm interested in. And Heather and I also teach a course on social housing. And so there are certain areas in the country where you will only get sort of social housing type tenants, or low income tenants, or people on housing benefit. So we need to know about that. And we teach that kind of thing as well. We need to understand what the demand is for the properties. So things like if I've got a 1, 2, 3 or 4 bedroom house, what's most popular? What's people looking for? In certain areas of Wales at the moment, I know for a fact, because I've got a letting agency there, that 1 bedroom properties are the most popular. There are lots and lots of people looking for 1 bedroom properties. We get phone calls all the time asking for that. I guess in your area, Heather, there'll be a different demand for different properties. But
exactly. So what you have to do is just split up your area, decide how much the property's costing in that area, and then marry that up with the tenant. There's no point in buying something in a cheaper area and expect to put a professional in there. It's never going to work. Absolutely. So again, someone that knows local knowledge is the most powerful person you can have in your power team.
And then there are things like, what's it going to cost you to buy? Are you paying the right amount? Heather just said somebody told her to pay over the asking price. I actually was coaching somebody earlier this week, was told exactly the same by some plonker. Pay over the asking price. We're not pay over the asking price. We never pay over the asking price. We don't mind paying the asking price if it's a right property and we do certain strategies with it. But we're investors. Heather and I don't think we've ever not asked for a discount. Today, literally today, I'm buying a property and I had to use a particular broker because the mortgage company I'm using only have a certain set of, not brokers, a set of solicitors on their panel. Now, my own solicitor had given me a quote for the purchase of the property. This other panel one sent me an email saying, good morning, Mr. Stewart. Welcome to our services. We are the people for this particular mortgage company. Here's your quote. They were £900 more in total. This is including all the fees and all the stamp duty and everything else, than my solicitor. And I sat there and went, no. I emailed them back and said, I'm sorry, but you're £900 more than my normal solicitor. Can you reduce your fees? They knocked off £600 just by asking the question. All right, it was 5,900 or something, but it came down to 5,300. But I hate paying full price for anything, and I always ask for the question. Okay, sometimes I have to, but we got into the mindset now. We always ask for a discount, and that's where you should be. So you need to be looking at what you're paying for it. Do you know how much equity you're going to create? Like Eve, we told you the story about Eve. Eve knew she was going to get a reasonable maker. She didn't know how much equity, but she was actually buying it as a buy to let, but she knew she was going to get some uplift in it. You need to know who the best contacts are to work with. If I went to Glasgow and I'm not investing in Glasgow, I need to know who the best builders are. How do I do that? Well, I tap into a power team or something like that. I talk to Heather. Heather might have contacts up there, and Heather might be able to put me in touch with people, and you leverage off perhaps other people for that kind of thing, but only people you can trust. We have a big saying about like, know, and trust. People we like, know, and trust. We don't work with anybody other than that. And then the biggest thing is doing the figures, the calculations, knowing how much you're going to make, how much profit you're going to make, how much rental income you're going to make, how much money you might have to need to get into the deal, and all those kind of things are really, really important. So, I mean, I think making an informed decision once you've got all of this information, these are things that we will show you how to do. We can show you how to do it. I mean, we haven't got time tonight, you know, this short video we've got on now, we're trying to give you as much information as we can to help you get going and to make sure you take the right steps and don't make mistakes. But these kind of things, we kind of take quite a lot of time to teach people. We make sure it's, there's a saying from Abraham Lincoln that give him 6 weeks to chop down a tree and he'll take 5 sharpening his saw. And that's what this is all about. Those 5 weeks or that period before, making sure you understand your situation, you understand the area and understand what's going on in that area, how much properties are selling for, how much are they renting for, who can you trust to tell you those figures. You know, Heather's just said somebody she met told her to put £20,000 or £10,000 more on a property. Well, that was a stupid thing to do, wasn't it? Well, and you trusted somebody that you thought maybe knew what they were doing. So how do we work that out? How do we find out if that person is really going to tell the truth? Obviously, we try and do some research on them. We've both got portfolios, mixed portfolios, and we didn't talk about that. My portfolios, I've done everything from some of these strategies you may not heard of, right from buy to lets, right the way up to lease options, flips, some commercial units. Heather, what have you done?
I've done the exact same. So I've got buy-to-lets, flips, commercial, HMOs, service accommodation. So anything out there, I've had a go at. And again, when I talk about like service accommodation, if it works for the location, it works fine. It's like my HMOs, they don't work too well in Scotland, so I'll move them down south. So again, it's finding the power team and the location is whatever you want for your strategy. So if it's a buy-to-let, it works all day long in most of the areas. HMOs don't work in every area. Service accommodation doesn't work in every area. So again, you've got to work out what works for you at your home base.
So there you go. There's a typical example. In Scotland, the rules are different. If I was to go to Scotland and just think it's the same as in England, there are different rules, and it's very, very difficult to do HMOs in Scotland, you know, and that's because the particular rules up there are much harder, and there are different rules about so in England and Wales you can still gazump people. You can still go in and you can try and offer more on something to buy a property that maybe somebody else has offered on, and you might be offering a little bit more, and then you gazump them by paying more. In Scotland you can't do that, because in Scotland they have solicitors, and they have to put this, the offer has to go in through the solicitor to the other solicitor. If the other solicitor accepts it, that's it, done. You've signed, you're on your contract. I want to buy that house for whatever it is, £100,000. The solicitor accepts it, you're committed. It's a contract. In England, I might say to the agent, I want to buy the house for £100,000. They go off, tell the owner, yeah, the owner says yes, fine. But then Heather comes in and offers 110,000. So I like that property, I'll have it for 110. They go to the owner says, okay, well, 110. So I get gazumped. So understanding these rules and knowing them is really important. You guys, you've got to go out and you've got to do your due diligence, and you've got to find out all the things I've mentioned. You've got to go and find out about, and then that way you can then make an informed decision. So what we're going to ask you to do, we're going to give you a little challenge this evening. I've already mentioned that if you get involved and you post on the Facebook group and you interact with other people and talk to other people, help anybody else out, really support each other, then we're going to give a prize for the person that's very active. But also what we're saying, we said at the beginning that we want you to research your own area. So go out tonight, and go tonight to your computer, whatever, do it online, and spend some time researching your own area, which is easier to do because it's local, it's things you know about. You might find things you didn't know about. And there are certain websites that you can go on and look on, your local council websites and things like that, and find out what's happening in your area. Find out, is it a good area to invest? What kind of rental could you get? What kind of uplift would you get if you buy a property and that needs maybe some work doing to it? What kind of demand is there in your area? All these kind of things you need to know and understand a little bit about the figures. We're not going to get a chance to go through the figures with you tonight, but we're happy to do that at another date. Then post that on the Facebook page this evening or tomorrow morning, and we'll have a look at that. Heather and I will have a look at that tomorrow afternoon, and we'll see who's been most active, who we like the best, and we will give out our prize tomorrow morning for that person that's been the most active. And then we'll talk tomorrow about doing strategies and the different strategies. I touched on some of them today already. Heather and I are going to go into a few of the strategies tomorrow as best we can in the time we have, and give you little insights about what you can do. So hopefully that's been really, really useful for you, and hopefully we've given you something to think about and some really useful tips. It's our passion, what we do. It's our plan to help you guys if we can. So please go out there, get involved, talk to each other, and do your research, post it up on there, and then that way we can interact with you as well. Is that right, Heather? Yeah?
Yep. So good luck from me. Take action.
And good luck for me. Go for it. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 6:30 with the same link details. So take care.
Take care.